Hey everybody, let's get through our assignment here. We've got a 10 question section that's going to help us with the rest of the story, so let's get to it. On the first 6 questions, it is asking us to evaluate. Now, to evaluate something means just get it done, work it out, see what you have to do. In this case, we're going to use the order of operations. We should always use the order of operations, but in this case especially, we are going to focus on it. And if given, for instance, in questions 4 through 6, we're going to take the values that we have been presented with, we're going to plug them in, we're going to see what happens. So for number 1, if we use the order of operations, the first thing we're going to have to do here is multiply. So the 3 is going to stay the same, but the 4 times 5, we are going to take care of that right away, and that's going to be 20. And then we are going to divide it by 10. All right, now let's take a look at what would be next in our order of operations. Well, we would have to do 20 divided by 10. Division is going to be the next step here. 20 divided by 10 is 2, so that's going to give you 3 minus 2. And so the answer came out to 1. All that work and we get 1. Hey, whatever, sounds good to me. Number 2, order of operations tells us we should do parentheses first. I see 2 sets of parentheses, so let's make sure we use them. Let's leave everything else the same. Now, we're going to start with a 13 plus 14. And then a lot of times students ask me, well, should I distribute? In this case, I personally wouldn't. You could as long as you were doing it correctly, but there's no reason to. Because take a look at the 2 things that are inside the parentheses. There's a 6 and there's a 9. We're adding them together. Since we know that 6 plus 9 is 15, there's no reason to distribute. Distributing is better when you don't actually know what's going to be in the parentheses. Same here with the 5 plus 9. How about instead of distributing that negative sign through, we just call it 14 and then we deal with it later. All right, the next step. Go from left to right. There are no exponents, so I'm going to jump to the multiplication here. So 13 plus 14 minus 30 divided by 3 minus 14. There's nothing to simplify there, so I'm just going to leave it. Looks to me like the next step is going to be division. So let's go 13 plus 14 minus 30 divided by 3 is 10 minus 14. Everything else now we're just going to do from left to right. 13 plus 14 is 27. 27 minus 10 is 17. And 17 minus 14 is 3. So once again, a lot of work, and we end up getting a pretty easy answer. But hey, I'll take it. So the answer is 3. All right, question number 3. 1 minus 5 is inside the parentheses. The official math way of saying that is the quantity 1 minus 5 squared plus the quantity 2 minus 5 squared, yada, yada, yada. Well, first, let's take care of everything that's in parentheses. 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Don't forget to square it. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Don't forget to square it. And then we're going to have to multiply by this right here. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Don't forget to square it. All right. The parentheses have been simplified as much as they can possibly be simplified, which means we can jump into the exponents. If you take the number negative 4 and you multiply it by itself, that gives you a positive 16. If you take the number negative 3, multiply it by itself, you get a positive 9. And if you take negative 2 and you multiply it by itself, you get a positive 4. Order of operations tells us from here we need to multiply. 9 times 4 is 36. 16 plus 36 is 52. There's a better answer. 52, a nice big answer there. All right, let's go on to number 4. 2x plus 5. But this time they told us x equals 12. So we are going to take that expression and we are going to plug in 12 for x. 2 times 12 is 24. 24 plus 5 is 29. All right, let's try it again with number 5. This time they are telling us that x equals -2. So we are going to plug in -2 every time we see x. All right, order of operations tells us that we have to square next. -2 squared is +4. We've actually got 2 multiplication steps that have to be done here, so let's do both of them. 3 times 4 is 12. And then here's the debate that people get into. Is this -2 times -2? Or is this a subtraction sign in front of a +2? And once again, it doesn't really matter. I am going to pretend that it is a -2 times a -2, which would make a +4, and then 12 plus 4 is 16. That's how I would do it. No matter how you look at it, as long as you get 16 as your answer, you have done it correctly. Number 6, now they are telling us to plug in 5 for x and -5 for y. 2 times 5 is 10. And 10 plus a -5 is +5. If you have $10 and you spend 5, you have $5 left. All right, simplify by combining like terms. We've got 3x minus 7 inside our first set of parentheses, and we've got 2x minus 7 inside our second set of parentheses. We just combine what's in common here. And if you look, the 3x and the 2x, they are in common, and that gives you 5x. -7 and -7, those are in common. That gives you a -14, and there is nothing else to be done. So just leave it like that. Number 8, let's combine what's in common here. 3x squared and a -3x squared. Well, those are actually just going to cancel out, so we don't even have to write anything there. The only other thing that we can deal with is the 2x and the 5x, which makes 7x. That -4, that -4 hanging out right there, it had nothing that could be done with it, so we leave it alone. So just to review here real quick, this +3x squared and this -3x squared, they canceled out, so the only thing left to combine was the 5x and the 2x. The -4 was all by itself. All right, number 9, it looks like we are going to distribute twice. And as soon as we get done distributing twice, we can get to our like terms. We can finish this problem right off. All right, so let's see. 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times -5 is -20. Once again, is that a negative sign or is that a minus sign? It doesn't matter. I'm going to take it along for the ride. I'm going to say that -3x times x is -3x squared. And I am going to say -3x times -6 is +18x. That's how I'm going to handle it. You could look at it from a lot of different perspectives. I don't really care. Just make sure you get the right answer. Now, when we write our final answer, I think it's best to go from smallest, or from a greatest exponent to smallest exponent. It's called, ordering it by degree or standard form. It's called a few different things. It's just a good habit to get into. So as I write my final answer, I'm going to start with the -3x squared. Then I'm going to combine my x's. So you start with the squared thing, then you go on just to the regular x's. 12 of them plus 18 of them is 30 of them. And then just that plain old number at the end, that -20. So -3x squared plus 30x minus 20. All right, last problem. I tried to throw in some weird function notation your way just to see if I could stump you. Remember, if you see f of x, that's officially called function notation. It's not meant to be a big deal. Basically, the thing that I just gave you, the 3x minus 5, is a function. Plug in the number and see what happens. So if you plug in -6, then what you're going to end up with here, let's make this a little bit bigger. We've got 3 times -6 plus 5. And then if you work that out, you're going to find out 3 times -6 is -18. -18 plus 5 would give you -13. So your answer is -13.